This video covers the entire federal hiring process from start to finish. We'll start with how the vacancy occurs, how it's approved, how an announcement is posted, applicants reviewed, certs issued, interviews completed, tentative offer issued, pre-employment requirements, all the way to the firm offer and the EOD. The entire hiring process follows a model called time to hire. It lists how long each step should take, and we'll cover that, but the overall from start to finish on most positions is 80 calendar days. Before we get started, you could help out by liking this video to help with the YouTube algorithm. Also subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you can be notified of all the new videos that are uploaded, and share with anyone that could use this information. The hiring process starts when a vacancy occurs. So a vacancy can be either because someone left, because they've created a new position within the department, or sometimes even if they're upgrading existing positions. When they upgrade an existing position, and let's say they write a new PD for a higher grade, they essentially need to make people apply for their own job, and it's still not a guarantee that they get it. There's have been cases where people have not been selected for their own position when their PD was upgraded. If you need help with the entire hiring process from start to finish, check out our book, Federal Hiring Advice, Your Guide to Government Jobs, available on Amazon. The link to purchase is in the description below. Once the department has a vacancy, what they'll do is they'll seek approval to fill it through senior leadership. It's not a guarantee that every vacancy is automatically approved to fill because of budget reasons. Usually facilities will have a recurring meeting that goes over budget and approves positions, and it can be on a different cycle. So sometimes they're weekly, sometimes they're monthly, sometimes they're quarterly. And then sometimes if it's a really emergent position, it's super important, needs to be filled now, they can do it through an email, and leadership will go ahead and approve that. Once a hiring manager does have approval to fill their position, they're going to meet with human resources and go over a consultation to cover everything that's needed in the recruitment package. So they're going to meet, they're going to go over all the documents that are required. So it's usually the position description, the approval to fill, any incentives that are going to be part of the announcement have to be approved before the announcement's open. The specifics for specialized experience, because most of the announcement's a template, but when you fill in the blanks for what's required, the hiring manager decides what they feel is important. The area of consideration, so how they want the job opened, if it's going to be just to current facility employees, agency employees, other federal employees, veterans, U.S. citizens, the hiring manager gets to decide that. They also decide on the open period, so usually bargaining unit positions have to be open for 15 business days. If they're non-bargaining, they can be shorter. That's the minimum, so anything longer does not require union approval, but anything shorter for a bargaining unit position could be approved by the union. So if it's an internal position, sometimes the departments will email the union and try to do 5 business days, facility only, so that they know that they're going to look for candidates that are inside the facility and there's no need to go outside or have it open for a long period of time. And then also the duties of the position. So the position description has all the duties that the position could ever complete, plus the catchphrase, other duties as assigned. But the hiring manager will decide on what's most important for this announcement that really reflects the day-to-day operations of this position. That'll be included in the recruitment package. So after the consultation and the hiring manager gets everything ready for the recruitment package, it's submitted to human resources and we start to build the job announcement. Now the timeline for the entire recruitment follows a metric called time to hire. It gives most GS positions 80 calendar days from the time that the position is submitted into USA Staffing to be posted, all the way up until the person starts. Each step of the process has an individual metric within time to hire. So it takes, or we're allowed 6 calendar days to get a job announced from the time that it's submitted. And it's submitted, it goes into USA Staffing, and that gives us the 6 calendar days to build the assessment, build the announcement, and send the review to the department. Because the hiring manager has so much input in the job announcement, once everything's built, a review is sent to the hiring manager for review, which is just a sample of what the assessment, the questionnaire, and the announcement will look like, and they have to approve it before we can open the announcement. Once the review's been sent and everything's approved, then the announcement will open. And it'll be open for the entire window unless there are some exceptions where applicant cutoffs are used. If an applicant cutoff is used, it'll say in the announcement limited to the first 50 applicants, or it might also say that the cutoff is 50 applicants, but it'll still close at midnight the night that 50 is reached, so it'll continue gathering applicants. Once an announcement's closed, that's when applicants are reviewed, and then once they're reviewed, that's when certs can be built and issued. For time to hire on this part, we get 14 calendar days to review the applicants and another 2 calendar days to build and issue the certificates. Now, the actual time it takes to review applicants and issue certificates is dependent on the number of applicants that applied. So smaller applicant pools get issued sooner, the larger ones take longer, and depending on how many applicants and what the specialist workload's like, it could take even longer than the 14 calendar days to get everyone reviewed. So you would issue a certificate for every eligibility that's found in the announcement. So you would have a certificate for the area of consideration and each individual grade if it's multiple grades. So if it's facility only and it's a 3-grade position, you're going to issue 3 certificates. You're going to issue one for each grade, and they'll all fall under the facility. Now, if it was for the agency, that's going to be 2 areas. You would issue a cert for all 3 grades at the facility and a cert for all 3 grades at the agency. So that's really 6 certificates. This is important because the hiring manager gets to choose which certificate they want to use when they go to conduct their interviews. For this part of the process, the hiring manager usually gets 14 calendar days for time to hire to do their interviews as well. This step is often delayed because they're having to take time out of their day to do their best qualified list, to call and schedule, and also conduct the interviews, so it's often delayed. Also, when certs are issued, that's when the notices go out. So another video that I've done talks about the notifications that you see in USA Jobs. They follow the touch points that are required. So the first touch point is that your application's received. You get that automatically generated as soon as you hit submit on your application. The next 2 are tied to when a cert's issued. So you're going to have the notice of results. That's what tells you whether or not you were found eligible. And then the notice of referral. That's whether or not you were placed on a certificate and sent to the hiring manager. For a lot of people, this is where your application's going to go cold. If you're not scheduled for an interview and you were given a notice of referral, this will be your last notice and your last update until the disposition comes out, which is when they let everyone else know that someone was selected, and that notice is often delayed. Once the hiring manager gets the certificates, that's when they're going to review them, see how many applicants they have, how many certificates they have, and then they're going to make a plan for conducting interviews. And I did another video that covers this process. So they get to decide which certificate they want to use. If they're looking for a certain grade at a certain area, then they can use that by itself. If that one certificate has way too many applicants to reasonably interview, then they can do the best qualified criteria process, where they're going to establish extra criteria. So that could be specific experience, length of experience, extra educations, licenses, anything that's going to help candidates stand out from the crowd that was not part of the announcement. It's extra. They can use those to score the candidates and lower the pool that they're going to have to interview. And once all the interviews are conducted, that's when a selection is going to be made. Sometimes the hiring manager will tell the person that they're going to select that they're selecting them. And this always causes confusion because the hiring manager will tell the applicant they're selected, but then they may not submit everything to HR that's needed to make the tentative offer, so it holds up the process. The candidate then starts calling HR looking for their offer, the hiring manager's calling HR looking for their offer, but we're still working with them to get all the required documents because they have to turn in their notes, turn in their scores, and really have a justification for the person they're selecting. So once the selection's made, Human Resources will make the tentative offer. Once everything's complete with the interview and all the documents, scores, and everything are attached to the certificate, and the certificates are returned with a selection, Time to Hire gives 2 calendar days to make the tentative offer. Now this is often delayed or not met because we like to make the call first before we send the letter, but the time is 2 calendar days from when the certs return to when the letter goes out. If you've been told by the hiring manager that you've been selected, that is not a tentative offer. And tentative offers, also covered in another video, start with most of the time a phone call to go over all the details to make sure that everything sounds good before they send the letter. And then once the letter comes, you'll have 3 business days generally to accept it. And the very first thing you're going to do when you get a tentative offer is accept it, because you have that short window, and if you don't accept it in that amount of time, they can just pull it back and move on to the next candidate. If you're wanting to negotiate anything, then you would do that after you accept the tentative offer. You have the entire window between tentative and firm offer to do your negotiations. So if you're interested in your salary, more leave, any incentives, that all needs to be discussed after you accept the tentative offer, and I also have another video on that as well. Once you have accepted the tentative offer, they're going to outline all of the pre-employment requirements that you'll need to get through in order to get to the firm offer. So you're going to have some positions will need physicals, you'll need fingerprints, all the stuff for the background investigation. I have another video on background investigation stuff. Credentialing in some positions, drug testing in some positions. Everything that you're going to need as part of the pre-employment process to get to the firm offer will be outlined at the tentative offer. And everything that you need to complete, if it's a physical or anything that you have to get done as part of the process where you have to physically go do it, will be scheduled by Human Resources. It won't come out of your pocket. You won't, for physicals, you don't go to your primary care doctor or anything like that. They will schedule the physical for you at the local federal facility, the nearest one to you if you're not in the area, and the employee health department of that facility will conduct the physical. Once everything's done, that's when you're going to get to the firm offer. And at the firm offer, they're going to do the same thing. They're going to call you, let you know everything's complete, and then they're going to talk about start dates. They're going to give you an estimated date up until then, but then this is where you're going to nail down a final date. So you will be given one date. If you need time to give a 2 weeks notice at your current employer, they will build that time in. If you need time to relocate, if you're moving for the position, you can build that time in. And then once it's all said and done with the phone call, they'll take what date that you guys have decided on and go ahead and send the letter, and this will be the final offer. So when you accept the final offer, it will be permanent. So make sure that everything looks fine, everything's correct. If you negotiate any salary, make sure the salary's correct. All of the details of the firm offer need to be correct before you accept, and then you'll just wait and show up to orientation on your first day. Now to recap, the hiring process starts with a vacancy and ends with the firm offer. Everything in between has a certain metric with time to hire so that it helps keep a specialist on track to get things done timely. But again, it's just a metric, so deadlines get missed all the time. Every recruitment's different. If you have questions at any point within the hiring process, you should just contact the HR point of contact at the bottom of the job announcement that you applied to. If you don't have a tentative offer, if you do have a tentative offer and you have questions about that process, then you would reach back out to the specialist or the assistant that's listed on your tentative offer letter. Thank you for watching the video. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comments and I'll do my best to answer. If you need to work one-on-one, you can visit the website at www.federalhiringadvice.com and we can schedule a time to meet.